What's up, guys? Dr. Cam here with Ground to Overhead PT, coming back at you with your daily body armor. We're going to talk a little bit about the kettlebell swing this morning. Okay, fantastic exercise for folks that are dealing with low back pain when we are bending over. So going into that flex position, this could be from performing a deadlift, performing RDLs. Even when we go down into a back squat, we're getting a bit of that forward flexion at the spine as well. So I really like this exercise for folks, call it maybe late, early stage, mid stage of their rehab for low back pain. And the reason is because of the way this exercise really works, right? So what we know is that as we are going into flexion, we are loading the front part of that spine and the front part of that disc in the spine. The thing about the kettlebell swing is it actually provides a posterior shear force. Okay, so a little bit more of the onus or stress is placed towards the posterior aspect of the spine there, even though we are going into a bit of forward flexion, right? So again, the stress is placed more on the posterior chain versus the anterior chain. And generally speaking, this exercise is more well tolerated than, say, just getting right into deadlifts or going back into the squats or something like that a little too early. So this is something I like to, once we've gotten our clients out of some of that acute pain, we start to try to find something like this that can then load the posterior chain, but also because we are going into some flexion, right, here with the kettlebell swing, we are also getting rid of some of that fear of movement into that position. Another great piece of this exercise. So the way we want to perform this exercise, we just need a kettlebell here. I'd say start a little bit light, okay? And what we're going to do, we want to make sure we are hinging at the hips, all right? I see all too often people will bend the knees, right, when doing this, almost like a squat. That's incorrect, right? This is a hinge movement, just like the deadlift. So we want to hinge, send those hips back, and then as we're coming up, we really want to generate that power from the hips and pop that kettlebell up, okay? So we're doing a Russian kettlebell here. We want to bring that to about eye level and then come back down, nice and controlled. The kettlebell should feel pretty weightless as we are bringing this up in the air because we have generated enough power from the hips to be able to get that kettlebell up, okay? The other thing that I like to do personally, and I see some people, they'll keep the arms out straight. That's fine, no big deal there. But it can potentially place a little bit more stress on the low back. So I personally like to bend the arms ever so slightly. So keeping the elbows bent just a little bit here. And again, generating all of that force from the hips. So let me demonstrate this. So kettlebell swings. All right. So again, you notice that I kind of kept my elbows a little bit bent there, really generating all of that power from the hips, trying to keep a fairly neutral spine as I come into that slight flex position. And again, as I mentioned, not only is this getting rid of some of that fear that we have when bending over, but it's also loading more of the posterior chain, providing a posterior shear force on the back instead of an anterior shear force, which can be maybe the aggravating factor with the bending over for some of our clients. So if you guys have questions about the kettlebell swing, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Subscribe and like our page, and I will see you next time for your daily body armor.